Welcome to this explainer. Imagine getting in your car for a massive cross-country road trip, but instead of picking your destination first, you just look at how much gas is in the tank right now and start driving. Sounds crazy, right? Well, that's actually how most cities do their budgeting. Today, we're diving into how picking a destination before checking the gas tank is totally revolutionizing the Mangaung Metropolitan Municipality's future. I know, it sounds a bit counterintuitive, but as we're going to see, it might just be the absolute secret to sustainable urban development.
So how exactly do you build a city backwards? Well, think about what happens when a local government decides to stop driving blindly until the money runs out and instead actually reverse engineers its dream city. Usually, governments just open up their wallets, stare at the budget and ask, well, what can we afford to build this year? It's literally a recipe for halfway done projects and really short-term thinking. But in Mangaung, they decided to completely flip that script.
And this brings us right to the core concept of Mangaung's 2023/2024 Integrated Development Plan, or IDP for short. They call it outcome-led planning. It's kind of like planning a wedding. You don't go buy the cake before you've even booked the venue. Instead of just looking at whatever resources are available today, you identify the specific outcomes you actually want for your community members in the future. Once that ideal end state is locked in, you work backward. You build a chain of results to figure out exactly what activities, outputs, and resources are required to get there. It demands that city planners act almost like architects, sketching out the entire completed skyscraper before they order a single beam of steel.
When you put them side by side, the contrast is honestly night and day. Traditional planning, that's resource first. It essentially just asks, what can we afford to do right now? But outcome-led planning asks a much more powerful question. It asks, what must we do to achieve our vision? And how are we going to fund it? It's a total game changer for municipal management, mainly because it forces everyone to focus on actual, long-term community impact rather than just doing the same old bureaucratic year-to-year spending.
All right, so just like the municipality has a structured plan, here is our blueprint for this explainer. We're going to cover 1. The art of planning backwards. 2. The 5 strategic pillars. 3. The early warning system. 4. Turning strategy into RANs. And 5. The global connection. Let's jump in.
Section 1. The art of planning backwards, envisioning the destination.
Moving right along to Section 2. The 5 strategic pillars. This is the city's blueprint.
Now, I know these might sound like your standard bureaucratic buzzwords, but they're really not. The city has mapped out 5 core outcomes designed to fundamentally transform the municipality from the ground up. First up, spatial transformation. We're not just talking about zoning here. This is about the real-world dismantling of the spatial and economic legacy of apartheid to create a fair, integrated city. Number 2 is economic growth, which is all about boosting development and performance to create real jobs. Third, and this is absolutely crucial, service delivery improvement. This is the city openly admitting a hard truth. You cannot have a booming economy if you don't master the basics first. Think reliable water, sanitation, and electricity. Fourth is financial health, which relies on a very strict financial recovery plan to keep everything solvent. And finally, number 5, organizational strength. That literally means building up the internal municipal capacity and hiring the right talent so they can actually deliver on all these big promises.
All right, Section 3, the early warning system, guardrails for the vision.
Because let's be real, what could possibly go wrong with such a grand plan, right? Well, Mangaung uses this really sophisticated feature where they link their lofty objectives directly to their absolute worst-case scenarios. For instance, if the objective is spatial transformation, the nightmare scenario they actively monitor is perpetual segregation and illegal building activities. If the objective is service delivery, the terrors they track are financial instability and sudden infrastructure collapse. By literally hardwiring these terrifying realities right into the planning process, the city creates built-in guardrails. They aren't just crossing their fingers and hoping for the best. Actual mitigation strategies, like stepping up building code enforcement or ring-fencing emergency funds, are woven right into the DNA of the plan to stop these specific risks dead in their tracks.
Section 4. Turning strategy into RANs. The assembly line.
Because a vision is, just a dream until you actually fund it and measure it. This sequence right here is the results chain. It steps us down from a vague utopian dream all the way to measurable reality. Step 1 is that broad vision, the strategic outcomes, like wanting to be a globally safe city. Step 2 brings it way down to earth with output indicators, managed through their Service Delivery and Budget Implementation Plan, or SDIP. This is where the broad vision becomes highly specific. We're talking tracked metrics, like the exact kilometers of road paved or the precise number of new sewer pipes laid down in a specific neighborhood.
Finally, step 3 is monitoring. The municipality uses a framework to track progress against these exact targets on a really strict quarterly and annual basis. Basically, there is nowhere for stalled projects to hide.
Of course, none of those shiny new sewer connections just happen for free, do they? Enter the MTREF, the Medium-Term Revenue and Expenditure Framework. Yeah, I know, it sounds like some super intimidating financial jargon, but actually, scratch that. It's just the critical tool the municipality uses to convert all this strategy into hard cash. Think of it like the city's household budget. It takes all the developmental needs identified in the IDP and translates them into rands and cents. For the 2023-2024 review, this meant perfectly aligning their budget with the city's financial recovery plan. It ensures that their limited resources go exactly where the strategy demands they are most needed, rather than just throwing money at random pet projects.
So the golden rule of outcome-led planning is simple, but man, is it profound. The strategy drives the budget, not vice versa. You don't look at the bank account and decide what kind of city you can afford today. You decide what kind of city you absolutely must build for tomorrow, and then you strategically align every single cent of your budget to make that happen. It forces a level of discipline that honestly most large organizations, let alone local governments, really struggle to maintain.
And finally, Section 5, the global connection, plugging into the world.
Mangaung absolutely does not plan in isolation. They use a process they call domesticating frameworks. Basically, they look at massive national priorities, like South Africa's National Development Plan Vision 2030 and the Medium-Term Strategic Framework. They even pull directly from the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. They take these giant, sometimes really abstract global and national ideas, and they domesticate them. They apply them directly to the streets of Mangaung to make sure their hyperlocal actions have true national and even global resonance.
So, when Mangaung works on their local outcome of spatial integration, they aren't just ticking off a bureaucratic box for the mayor. No, they have directly mapped this objective to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 11, which is Sustainable Cities and Communities, as well as Priority 5 of the National Medium-Term Strategic Framework. It's a completely fascinating perspective shift. Fixing a local zoning issue or upgrading a neighborhood's infrastructure is treated as a direct, measurable contribution to a global United Nations mandate. How cool is that?
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a slightly provocative thought to chew on. Is your city actually planning for the future, or are they just spending what's in their wallet? Outcome-led planning completely flips how we think about civic responsibility. By starting at the destination, linking every single objective to a specific risk, and making sure the strategy dictates the budget rather than the other way around, Mangaung is offering a truly fascinating blueprint for governance. It really challenges how we should all view the infrastructure, the budget, and the ultimate destination of our own local governments. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and keep asking the big questions about the places you call home.